guess first of all, let's start with a look at the year it's been for you as a mayor. Some interesting times to say the least. I mean, a busy year right from the get-go, to the point where you've been a part of the council since 1974. What do you have to say? I mean, looking back from 1974 to now and seeing where it's evolved.
It's a sea change, absolutely. The council and the work on council years ago bears very little resemblance to what we do today. I look at the budgeting system. The budgeting system, as I often have said, used to be like an auction. Whoever yelled the loudest got what they wanted. We didn't have the policies. We didn't have the governance pieces in place. It was very part-time. You did this out of a sense of public service, and now it's very full-time. It's very focused. It's very driven. And this council is the most aggressive, the most active, the most engaged, and the most tuned-in council I have ever seen.
Why is that, do you think? Because I mean, there's so many hot button issues, I guess, too, isn't there?
Well, it's partly that. It's partly the age. The age of council has dropped substantially. It used to be retired white men, and now we have younger people with younger voices and perspectives. Red Deer has traditionally had a fairly high gender balance with 4 or 5 women on council. And of course, now we're benefiting from the modern communication techniques and social media, and the community is plugged into what City Hall is doing, and City Hall is plugged into what the community is doing, and it makes for a very fast chase.
Well, and it's funny, in the year of the centennial, I mean, here we are 100 years later, looking back at where we've come and where we're going, what direction we're going. Interesting times for you to say, hey, this is where we got to be heading with the new centennial. Oh,
there are so many things. I've announced that I'm not continuing, but I'll tell you, my heart is in all the all the exciting things that are happening. I look at Riverlands and the development there. I look at rail yards and the development there. The continued development in our downtown. The residential development as we go north and east into the city, and how we can do that better, and how we can make a better community, how we can have better transit. I mean, Red Deer is a wonderful place, but it ain't perfect. But we can always aim towards that. And I look at the economic growth. I think of the relationship we have with the county. Just wonderful things.
I mean, you look at it, there's always challenges, and sometimes dollars is the biggest challenge. What has been the most challenging part for you this year, this 2012?
Oh, I think we had 3 or 4 sort of hot issues this year, and that has been very wearing on the staff, on council, and on the community. It takes a lot of starch out of the community to have a big controversy, and one of those controversies was over the French school. Another one, of course, was the bike lanes. Dare we mention those? The Aboriginal housing development in Clearview. Those really do take a lot of energy out of the community. And so you try and avoid those kind of, well, they weren't meant to be confrontational, but they ended up confrontational. And so those really were tough times.
But do you think some of those things sometimes engage the public more than maybe awake the public and say engage them? Because that is part of what you guys do a really good job at, is you want them to be engaged and want them, you're here for them.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like Pollyanna, but there is a silver lining in that cloud, and that is some people became engaged and then they say, I had no idea it was like this. I have no idea this is what you had to do. So they did learn a lot as well, because the easiest thing to do in a community like Red Deer, which has most of the amenities, delightful location, good employment, life is pretty good in Red Deer, is to kind of sit back and just kind of drift on this raft. And if you don't engage, first of all, you're missing a lot out of your life, but the community's missing you too.
Looking now, some of the biggest challenges too becomes financially. I mean, it's having enough dollars to do things, from police, having police, and having the new things that cities our size now needs. Was that one of the biggest challenges? I mean, one of the challenges you find that
finance is always a challenge. I mean, there's never enough money. It's like home. There's never enough money. So what do? You look to management. You look to prioritizing. You look to planning. You look to making sure that you've got the plans in place so that if the money does come, you can go ahead with projects. So you spend a lot of time and energy in that. But we've made good progress, you know.
I guess now looking at the state where the future of 2013, pretty exciting times. I mean, because it is centennial, but also there's a lot of projects that you guys are kind of spreading it out pretty well. Talk about what 2013 will look like.
Well, 2013, of course, is our centennial, and it will have a number of city-driven projects, a number of nonprofit-driven projects, private projects, all sorts of things. So we have an exciting year ahead. The Centennial Committee's done a wonderful job of creating a variety of opportunities for people, not the least of which will be the new exhibit at the museum, an exciting venture on the river that I can't even imagine what it's going to be like. It's a light tableau on the river and so on. So those are going to be very special. Looking ahead into 2013, we're going to lighten up on some of the road construction because we don't want the place all torn apart during this centennial celebration. But that doesn't mean we're not making progress on the access into riverlands and the planning for riverlands, looking at planning in the northeast corner so that we make sure we have school sites for the 2 new high schools. And just continuing with some of the development that's never even seen. Like, unless you drive out to the sewage treatment plant, you have no idea that there's a major highway has been developed through there. Now, it's not connected with a bridge, so you can't use it yet, but it does connect all the services like water and wastewater and stormwater. So those lines are all in, so that whole East Hill, many quarter sections can develop. And that's all happened without anybody even seeing it. And the enhancements to our sewage treatment plant, huge expansion, so we can take the sewage from Carstairs and north. And that line is being built as we speak, but those things don't get on the radar.
And it affects people, and that's what it becomes.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's the huge part of the people.
And you can ignore those things. I mean, we could shift the money over to building a 50-meter pool, but we eventually are going to have those sewage facilities. So if you spend your money on the 50-meter pool, you're going to get caught when you need the sewage treatment facility. So again, it's always that balance, always the balance. And
people don't realize that sometimes, is that the prioritization. You guys have not forgotten about certain projects. You just have to make that priority list.
We've got 10 years on the list and another 5 or 6 off the list.
What excites you right now about the future, Red Deer? I know as you're leaving, it's probably kind of bittersweet because obviously you've been a part of this for a while. You announced that you won't be coming back for the next election term. What excites you? First of all, we'll get to the other stuff after, but what excites you about the future with Red Deer?
Well, I've mentioned Riverlands several times. Continuing the relationship with the county, I think at the root of everything is our sort of regional piece that we occupy in central Alberta. And we need to be complementary and coordinated and collaborative with all the people in central Alberta. And yes, Red Deer is the core, and we do provide some of those services to the central Alberta community, but it's really making sure that we hold that position well. I'm anxious to see the airport grow and flourish, and I want to fly out of Red Deer so that I can go to Las Vegas and Toronto from Red Deer, not Calgary, not Edmonton. I don't have anything against those cities, but I want to fly out of Red Deer. I want to see developments like our curling rink completed, and that was quite controversial a while ago, but here we have this wonderful facility coming on stream now. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. And we'll talk now that you recently announced that you won't be seeking another term, but for those people at home, why decide that right now? You've been a part of this since 1974. Why step down this time?
Well, I think there's several reasons. Number one is I think when you spend 9 years as mayor, you are able in that time to do your thing that you want to lead the community to with your council. But there comes a time when it's time for somebody else to lead, because everybody has biases and skews. Some people accuse me of having dreadful biases, but you know, be that as it may. So I think after 9 years as mayor, it's time to step down. I will have served 21 years in public service. I think that's enough for anybody. I can step aside and make way for new people, and we have very capable new people to take over both in mayor and in council. I'm looking at my own life. I'm past 71. I'm in very good health, but the next term is a 4-year term, and I would be past 76 by the time that's over, and I think that's pushing things a little. I'm not an old man.
But you'll have time now to at least to spend time with Hazel too, right?
Yes.
That's another thing people don't see. The other side that you have to. It's nice to have a family life too.
You're on a 2-week leash when you're on council or as the mayor, and so everything revolves around that 2-week cycle and a lot of public commitments. You know, I do 800 commitments a year, and that's a lot.
It is, and I saw you last night, and that's what you know. It's amazing what you can do. I mean, and how much time you have to. It takes time. It takes.
It does. Sometimes I'm not doing anything but just sitting there as part of the issue. But it means that that's not my time. It's somebody else's time, and it's an important thing for the mayor and members of council to be present. So I mean, we put a premium on that. We don't say, oh, that's that's an unfortunate part of the job. It isn't. It's a very fortunate part of the job.
This leads me to my next question, I guess. For those who are going to be looking to become the next mayor, what qualities, what do you see that has to be that perfect fit for a mayor? Because some people think, oh, well, that's easy, I can do that job. It's not that easy. There's a commitment, there's a lot of work involved and a lot of knowledge base.
You have to be informed, and I think keeping up with the information is really, really tough. Now, I have lots of people helping me with that, but just keeping all those balls in the air and keeping your mind open and broad, and that's the other thing. Anyone who thinks they can do the job as mayor needs to have a broad view of the community, not a narrow view. A one-trick pony is not going to work in the mayor's office, because just as soon as you've done your act, there's still all the rest to do, and you may not be comfortable with that. So being informed, having a very strong constitution is another thing, because you work 12-hour days, 80-hour weeks, and that's not impossible, but it does take a drain on you. I mean, when most people are working a 40-hour week and you're doing twice that much, it really puts a strain on you. There's also the emotional strain. When you're being vilified and criticized in the public, you have to expect that. I mean, if you take any 10 people and give them an idea, a couple of them are going to say, I think this is a crummy idea. So you have to expect that. And you have to be able to deal with that internally and externally so that you're not daunted by that. Yes, you use their comments for correction and shaping, but you don't lose sight of the vision. The other piece for a mayor is the mayor has to have a vision of where we're going. Because if you don't have your eye fixed ahead, then you're reacting to things all the time. And so, I've had my eye fixed on some things for 10 years, and it's taken 10 years to deliver. But if you didn't think of it first, it may never have happened.
Looking now back at the things that you're proud of for your term, not just as mayor, but part of council, what is the one thing that you think you can look back and say, you know what, I know there's a lot of things, but what would be that one thing in your
The one thing was settling the war with the county. That, when I became mayor, that schism between the city and the county was so pervasive that every file I picked up could go so far, and then that ended it. And that worked for the county as well, because we lost economic opportunity, we lost advantage, We lost image. We all lost. It was a lose-lose situation. And I used to lie awake at night trying to figure out how good people on their side and good people on our side could get ourselves so far off the track. And when we sorted that out in my second year as mayor, when everybody was able to pull together and a vision was formed as to how the county and the city could get along, it just changed everything overnight. And it was the biggest single accomplishment, because it then in turn affected all those files. So it was big. We never could have the regional water system that we have. We never could have the regional sewage system. We never could have the River Valley and special places master plan that the two of us have developed. We couldn't have developed the intermunicipal development plan, the growth areas, the transportation linkages. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. We would have had no land. We could not have had Queen's Business Park. It just would have deadened their life and our life. And now it's, you know, we work hard to make certain that that continues. But of all the things that I'm proud of, that's the proudest.
Last question. What is next for Mayor Morris Llewellyn?
The first thing I'm going to do when I walk out of here after the eve of the election is to go on a wonderful holiday. Hazel and I are going to go with some friends, and we're going to spend 6 weeks or 8 weeks on a holiday, because I know I have to break the habit of coming to the office every morning. I'll still get up at 6 o'clock, but I won't come to the office. So that will be the break. And after that, there are a number of things that have simply been held in abeyance in things I want to do in my private life. And I want to spend time at the farm. I want to go back to the fun of having the cattle and the horses and so on, and I can't do any of that now because it's just, there's no time for that. And so I'm looking forward to that, really looking forward to that. Changing gears, I think the toughest thing is going to not be the mayor, because when you're the mayor, you are the lightning rod for good or for evil every time. Like even in the grocery store, you're the lightning rod. And people speak to you and wave at you whether you know them or not. And it's going to be very different when I'm no longer the mayor. I know I need to get away and deal with that.
What would you like to say to the people that, you know, because of the people who voted you in and who've been with you and who support you, or people are watching right now, what would you like to say to them?
Well, certainly thank you for the support. I've often said that whatever you do, and you ask me questions, what was the most satisfying thing? None of that gets accomplished with one person. That's always with colleagues, sterling staff that we have, people in the community, community leaders, visionary people who come with ideas and energy and money and want to see things happen. And so what you do as mayor is you help steer that to make that possible. And so that's the fun of being mayor. And so thank you to all those people.